Lois Griffin, the heart and soul of the Griffin family, right? She's the mom who always tries to keep things together, the one who steps in with love and wisdom when things go south. But what if I told you that Lois has a side to her you never saw coming? Behind that sweet, motherly exterior, she's made some seriously wild and often shocking decisions. You might think you know her, but trust me, you don't. So grab a seat, because today we're diving into the top 10 most jaw-dropping, cringe-worthy things Lois Griffin has ever done.
I've got one thing in this lifetime. One thing!
And spoiler alert, some of these will make you wonder if she's really the perfect mom after all. Number 10. Spanked Stewie. Let's kick things off with a classic, shall we? In Peter's Two Dads, Season 5, Lois hits a low point when she spanks her infant son, Stewie. Now, we get that parenting is tough, but hitting a child for any reason, especially an infant, is definitely crossing the line. Stewie's little rampage, wrecking the bedroom and destroying a pearl necklace, does not warrant the spanking that follows. Sure, Stewie can be a handful, but he's an infant. There are other ways to handle things than resorting to physical punishment. To make matters worse, this triggers a bizarre awakening in Stewie, which leads to some very uncomfortable realizations for him. This moment is one of the most disturbing for fans, mainly because it pushes the boundaries of what's acceptable on television. The awakening part, where Stewie fantasizes about a muscled Lois beating him, takes things to a whole new creepy level. And while Lois does feel guilty afterward, the whole scene lingers in the viewer's minds as a moment of serious misjudgment. Number 9. Gambled away the family's car. Lois has a bit of a gambling problem, and in The Sun Also Draws, Season 8, it spirals into a full-on crisis. The Griffins take a trip to a Native American casino, and Lois quickly becomes addicted to the poker machines. She starts off small, but it doesn't take long before she's fully hooked. And what does she lose in her addiction? Only the family car. Yes, Lois loses the one thing the family needs to get around, and all because she couldn't walk away from the slot machines. And here's where Lois fails. Instead of owning up to it and helping Peter fix the problem, Lois does nothing. She lets Peter lie to the Native American casino owners to cover up her mess, and basically stands by as Peter makes things even worse. The real kicker is that Lois doesn't even take a moment to stop and think about how this will affect her family. It's a moment of complete irresponsibility, and it sets a terrible example for her kids. Lois is quick to get caught up in her addiction, but unwilling to take the consequences seriously. Number 8. Attempted to seduce Justin Bieber. In Lois Comes Out of Her Shell, Season 11, Lois goes through what we can only describe as a midlife crisis on steroids. After Peter calls her an old plow horse, Lois decides she's going to prove to herself that she's still young and desirable. So, what's her first step? She targets Justin Bieber, a teenage pop sensation at the time. Yes, Lois Griffin, a married woman with children, tries to seduce a young Justin Bieber. Now, let's unpack this for a second. Lois's entire motivation is driven by insecurity. Peter's comment makes her feel old, and instead of doing something healthy like, I don't know, having an honest conversation with Peter about it, Lois resorts to sneaking into Bieber's dressing room. It's an uncomfortable, borderline inappropriate situation. Thankfully, Peter bursts in just in time to prevent things from getting worse. But this moment goes down as one of Lois's most cringeworthy. The fact that she was willing to put her marriage and reputation at risk to chase after a teenage pop star is nothing short of disturbing. Number 7. Locked up Peter and his friends. Being married to Peter Griffin is no easy task, and Lois certainly has her work cut out for her. But in A Lot Going On Upstairs, Season 14, Lois goes from frustrated wife to full-on jailer when Peter turns the attic into his peat pad for him and his friends to hang out. He neglects his family, and things quickly spiral out of control. So, Lois decides to take matters into her own hands by locking Peter and his friends in the attic. Using a drill, she seals them inside, essentially trapping them in an unventilated room. This is a huge overreaction. The whole situation could have been solved with a simple conversation, but Lois chooses to imprison Peter and his friends as punishment. Things get even worse when Peter blackmails Lois with her wedding dress to get released.
Lois, so help me God, if you don't let us out right this second, I'm gonna take a dump on your wedding dress!
You wouldn't dare!
While Lois admits later on that locking them in the attic was a mistake, the fact that she even thought that was a reasonable response is concerning. It's one of those moments that makes you question her decision-making skills and ability to maintain control in difficult situations. Number 6. Sold Out Chris. In Jungle Love, Season 4, Lois does something downright cruel to her son Chris. When Chris is nervous about a hazing ritual for incoming freshmen, Lois reassures him that everything will be fine. But the moment Chris leaves the car to start his new year, Lois honks the horn and outs him as a freshman. This is a betrayal of the highest order. Lois's actions set her son up for humiliating paddling, all because she couldn't resist a little bit of family drama. Even the mayor gets involved in the paddling, and it becomes a full-on spectacle. Lois is essentially using Chris's embarrassment for her own amusement. It's a callous disregard for her son's feelings, and it goes to show just how far she's willing to go to make a situation more entertaining, even if it involves humiliating her own flesh and blood. Selling out her son for a laugh? Pretty messed up. Number 5. Cheated with Bill Clinton. This one is as bad as it sounds. In Bill and Peter's bogus journey, Lois, in a fit of frustration over Peter's behavior, finds herself in bed with none other than Bill Clinton. The former president ends up staying with the Griffins, and before long, Lois gets caught up in the excitement and charm that comes with having a former world leader in her life. Lois has an affair with Bill Clinton. To make matters worse, Lois feels guilty about it afterward and tries to make it right by offering Peter an open pass, giving him permission to sleep with someone else to fix their marriage. The whole situation is messed up, and Lois's actions only make things worse. While she tries to hide the affair from Peter, it's hard to deny that the damage has already been done. Eventually, Peter and Bill Clinton's bond grows so tight, they both end up in bed together. Lois's infidelity causes chaos, and it's clear this moment is one of her lowest. Number 4. Cool. Ran a drug lab. In Farmer Guy Season 11, Lois dives headfirst into a criminal world that she doesn't quite understand. The Griffins struggle to make ends meet on their farm, but rather than seeking help or working harder, Lois discovers a drug lab hidden in their storm cellar. Instead of walking away from it, Lois decides to run the operation. It's not just a simple mistake. Lois actively defends her decision, even when Brian finds out and confronts her. She justifies her actions, which is a huge moral fail. Lois doesn't care about the consequences of dealing with illegal substances, and when she sees the damage the drugs are causing in Quahog, she's suddenly struck with guilt. But by then, it's too late. Lois has already crossed the line, and this moment highlights just how far she's willing to go when the family is desperate. Number 3. Ignored sexual harassment. In Peter Asment, Season 8, Lois shows a shocking lack of support for both Peter and Meg when they face harassment. After Peter's boss, Angela, grabs his backside, Peter confides in Lois, expecting her to back him up. But Lois dismisses his concerns, claiming that men enjoy being touched by women. She downplays his discomfort, essentially invalidating his experience. This is especially problematic because Peter is, in fact, being sexually harassed. What makes it worse is that Lois does the same thing when Meg shares her own experience with harassment. Lois dismisses Meg's story as well. This moment is deeply troubling because, as a mother and matriarch, Lois should be teaching her children about respect and boundaries. Instead, she perpetuates the idea that harassment is somehow acceptable, especially for men. This lack of understanding and empathy is one of her most shocking and irresponsible moments. Number 2. Substance abuse. Lois's struggles with substance abuse are more than just a plot device. They're a real issue. In Model Misbehavior, Season 4, Lois becomes addicted to diet pills after she starts a modeling career. It's a moment where Lois, rather than handling her insecurities in a healthy way, turns to drugs to cope with the pressure. Later, in Prick Up Your Ears, Season 5, Lois gets a tattoo she doesn't remember getting.
Oh my God, Mom! I know.
And reveals she's been using substances for much longer. Perhaps the most alarming moment comes in Prick Up Your Ears, where Lois nearly drowns Stewie in the toilet while trying to retrieve a pill. It's a chilling moment that makes you realize how deep Lois's problems go. Instead of confronting her addiction, Lois endangers her own child. This behavior is reckless and dangerous, not only to her but also to her family. Number 1. Kidnapped Meg and sold into a sex trafficking ring. And finally, the absolute worst. In a plot that crosses into very dark territory, Meg is kidnapped and sold into a sex trafficking ring while in Paris. After agreeing to go on a trip, Meg is locked away with other girls and sold to the highest bidder. The fact that the show uses this as a form of dark humor is deeply unsettling. While Stewie and Brian manage to rescue her, the emotional damage Meg endures is clear. And the fact that this all happens in a cartoon makes it even more disturbing. This is the most extreme example of Family Guy pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable. The storyline touches on real-world issues, but instead of treating them with the seriousness they deserve, the show makes light of a tragic and horrific situation. Lois Griffin's dark side might just surprise you, but which of her scandals shocked you the most? Drop your jaw-dropping pick in the comments and, hey, stick with us, because next time, We're diving into the real villain of Quahog Bukakis. And no, it's not who you think.